Welcome to Legacy Engineered, the show where smart structure meets lasting success. Join Scott Arden, Chairman and CEO of Controllers Limited, as he sits down with business leaders, top entrepreneurs, and experts to uncover the strategies, stories, and structures that build lasting legacies. And now, here's your host, Scott Arden.
Welcome back to Legacy Engineered, where we challenge you to stop building sandcastles and start building something that actually lasts. Today's guest has spent more than 25 years helping successful business owners uncover what she calls the millionaire blind spot. Angie Granger is a CPA, personal financial specialist, certified financial planner, and founder of Prosperint. Throughout her career, she's worked with successful entrepreneurs, business owners, and high net worth families who have built impressive businesses and accumulated significant wealth, yet still find themselves asking the same question. Why does it feel like something's missing? Angie's work challenges a common assumption. Most people think their biggest financial problem is taxes. According to the work she's done with clients, taxes are often a small piece of the puzzle. The bigger issue is the money being lost through the lack of coordination, missed opportunities, planning gaps, and not having someone looking at the entire picture. In fact, Angie and her team have tracked nearly 18 million of money found in fewer than 20 client relationships simply by uncovering blind spots that have gone unnoticed for years. Today, we're going to talk about why even successful people can feel uncertain about their finances, why wealth and clarity aren't always the same thing, and what it really means to have a financial strategy that works together instead of operating in silos. Angie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know you and I work together with a few of the clients, and we're getting them all in order. And so, today is to kind of talk a little bit about your experience and what you're building essentially. So, you've built your message around what you call the millionaire blind spot. What is it, and why do so many successful business owners have it?
Well, I liken it to this. If you're driving up the California coast, it's a beautiful sunny day, and the roof is down on your convertible, and your friends are with you, you're laughing, singing along to the music, enjoying the views. And then all of a sudden you turn around a bend and bam, there's a fog bank. And all of a sudden you can't see where you're going. What happens? You tense up, you slow down, turn down the volume, put up the roof, maybe if it's cold now, and all of these things that now make you not enjoy the drive because you don't know what you're going to hit next or where you're going or what you're going to run into. Right. And so what we found is as business owners start to grow, they grow in complexity. And entrepreneurs cannot just have one business. That just seems to never work that way. So as more ideas come, more investments come, private equity, real estate, more businesses, money starts getting crossed between all of the entities. The stakes get higher on everything, and it just moves into some chaos. And that puts the millionaires, or I call millionaire 7- and 8-figure business owners, directly in that fog. And it makes it very hard and very stressful to know where they're going. And quite frankly, what I found is that the advisors who've helped get them to this point, are on like one track. You have an investment advisor, or you might have a CPA, or you might have a bookkeeper that you trusted and worked with for a long, long time. But everybody's seeing only their own picture. It would be like somebody who's making sure your tires are okay on that car, or, your radio's tuned in well and your speakers are great, but nobody's actually has the map and has the ability to drive where it's going.
Right. That's awesome. I love that. So
Yeah.
kind of talking a little bit about that. I mean, many business owners have a CPA, a financial advisor, insurance agent, attorney, bookkeeper. Why do they still feel like something's missing?
Well, look, the biggest complaint that people come to is that their CPA is not available, doesn't give them proactive advice. I can't reach them, and that is kind of the core to my whole passion about what this is really all about, because the investment advisor is going to look at a portfolio or an account and look at the investments within that account. And the CPA is going to file the tax return from what already happened. And it's helping to understand two things in our industry. Is one is that a tax preparation and tax advice are two different things. And so
Absolutely.
when people come and say, I got my tax return, but I didn't get advice. Well, did you pay for advice? Well, they think, well, it's included in the tax return. Well, no, it's not really. But the problem underneath that is that the CPAs aren't acting like that. And here's what I mean. So, the CPAs in their businesses and practices, they think they need to get more clients and grow their practice, but they're actually contributing to the overall problem. And that is that the industry itself is shorthanded in CPAs, and there's no bookkeeping school. Okay, there's no school to go get a credential or a certified bookkeeper, let's say. Now there might be some small ones that people have started, but overall, bookkeepers teach themselves. So what happens is that when the books are not in good order and really easy and at your fingertips, when it comes to tax time, everything piles up at the last minute with a bunch of chaos that has to be dealt with. And guess what the CPA ends up doing? Gets pulled way down into the minutia and the details during a crunch time and cannot step up and be a strategist.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of what I've seen, is a lot of them are just historians. We'll just record what, the data is. And if it's bad data because there's no strategy behind it, then it's always just going to perpetuate itself. Right. I mean,
Exactly.
that's what I've seen. And, so having that strategy, having a strategist like that, because, again, it tax planning happens throughout the year, right? And the other thing that you also have to look at is you and I both look at the overall picture, not just the business, not just the returns, but the overall picture of what is the end result for the client. That way we can understand where we're going with it and reverse engineer a strategy to build a proper sequence in which to, put things in place, right? So,
Right.
that's why I love how you and I work together with the clients, and is because we both have that vision. We want to know, what does it look like to you, because then we can help build that plan.
Right. And the bottom line is if the books and the money is in total chaos, we cannot give advice. We cannot advise well. Right.
Right.
So that's why it's so important. And that's why 77% of all the money found came from accounting mistakes, believe it or not, because the accounting mistakes and the lack of accounting of accounts creates so much lost money. It is very shocking to me. And that's why I'm at a point now where I personally cannot be the CPA personal CFO for everybody who needs it. The industry or the successful business owners, they need the right kind of advice. Like you said, someone who's looking at the person behind the business. But CPAs are not set up for that. And CPAs are the perfect person to be that. They are the trusted advisor. However, right now they're not able to act like that. So my passion is helping to train those CPAs and restructure their firms to much better serve these 7 to 8 figure business owners and work less and be a better strategist and be that personal CFO that the business owner really does need someone who can step back and help them from a bigger point of view than just getting a tax return done or just getting an investment account managed.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, business owners, like, well, working with those 7 or 8 figure business owners, what patterns do you consistently see among people who are building wealth versus those who are simply making money?
Well, I can tell you that the best way I can answer that question is to tell you some stories about how I find so much money. And that's one of my favorite things to do.
Oh,
We track it. We make sure we have spreadsheets, and we used to do videos on all of it. And it's all for educational purposes to understand what happens when you start getting the complexities in there. So, for example, there's what we found $85,000. And let me just qualify what money found means to us. It means
yes.
money that we found when we've cleaned something up, and maybe we can get it back, maybe we can't. But we still found that there was a big mistake or a big lost money. or it's money that we have restructured and said, okay, like work we're doing together. We're going to restructure some things on a client's account. And in 1 year alone, we're going to save them 6 figures of tax. And so that's money found that he didn't have before, right? So we categorize it all like that, and we look at, is it a missed opportunity? Is it a mistake? Or is it accounting, tax, and investments? Okay. So with that, one of our cleanup clients who was a high-end physician and started buying into bigger real estate projects and real estate and started building a real estate portfolio. And because they didn't have good order and they were hiring different project managers across that, but nobody was accounting for the overall picture. When we did that cleanup work and got that all set up, we found $85,000 of missed money. Why? Because the property manager 2 years back stopped collecting the utility payments from a tenant on a big apartment complex.
Oh,
2 years of uncollected
that's wow.
utilities that is in their lease that they should have collected. So it's that kind of thing that when nobody has a way to reconcile and to pull it all together and have the cross training to look at it from all different points of view, that's how mistakes get made.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in your opinion, what role does business structure, entity planning, and coordination between advisors play in creating long-term financial success?
It is the key. It's really the key. And here's the contrast is I often get startup businesses. Oh, I should be an LLC, or my friend told me I should set up an LLC and an S Corp and all this. And I said, no, you don't need that. Go to work and learn how to make money first. Keep
Right.
your life simple until you're making enough money. But on the other side of that, when you start making a lot of money, if you don't get your entities structured correctly and legally safe, then a few things happen. One, you're going to way overpay in your taxes, first and foremost. And a lot of the entity structuring that you do and I do is for tax saving strategies. But a lot of it is for two other reasons. One is for safety, because unfortunately, the more successful you are, the more under attack you become, the
Absolutely.
more that you have to protect your wealth. And then the other thing that happens is now you have to start asking yourself, where do you want that money to go? Because at some point, you've got all your personal life. Well, what do you want to do with that money? What are you trying to do for your kids or your community or your parents or your next generations? And so the entity structures are critical for your future planning as well.
Absolutely. Well, and they have perpetual existence, right? I mean, they can pass from generation to generation to generation as long as it's structured correctly.
Exactly. And until you're at those wealth levels where you're hitting those taxable, issues or those high tax brackets or the state taxes and things like that, there are ways that you can set it up simply and expand as you grow with your wealth.
Yes, absolutely. So you talk a lot about having someone who can, as we were just talking about, see the whole picture. What does a true personal CFO relationship look like, and how is it different from the traditional? You kind of covered it a little bit, but expand on that a little bit.
Yeah. So a personal CFO is one who can, like stepping farther back away from the scene is probably the easiest way to start. If you have a business CFO, their job is to keep the company safe and keep under control with the cash and the finances. So you've got an eye on what that business is doing. But what 7 and 8 figure business owners need to start thinking is more like what a billionaire would do, which is the family office point of view, which means that your money is your business.
Right.
You see, so now your wealth is your business, not a business in your wealth. And so a business fractional CFO, that's kind of typical, is looking at the business. But what we look at it, what a personal CFO should be looking at it is, how can that business fund your goals faster, better, more efficiently? And that is with its profit and with its distributions. But entrepreneurs like I said, have multiple businesses, and it's intertwined. You can't separate them because this building or this business has this building, and then this, has private equity, and all of these pieces need a CFO to see and look at that. The key here is that the business, and usually there's a primary business that funds, that kind of kicks it all off, but every single business is just another asset on your personal financial statement.
Yep.
A business, a private equity, a retirement account, a real estate, anything like that, that's just another asset on your balance sheet. And that's what a personal CFO does. They step out and look at all of your assets from a high level point of view as just another investment that's either moving you closer to your goals or it's not, and be able to help look at it and restructure from there.
Yep. Absolutely. So for business owners listening today who have that gut feeling that something isn't quite optimized, where should they start?
So I will first say that if they have that gut feeling, it's true. It's just true. There is something missing. If you're feeling like it is, it is. And if your friends are telling you to do X, Y, and Z, then it's time to get another professional because they're just going to feed into that gut feeling. And they may be right or wrong. So where we start is with a diagnostic. So the blind spot diagnostic is our first starting point, where we go through and we just evaluate what's going on with your accounting, with your taxes, with your investments, with your insurance. We go right down your balance sheet and we provide a report that helps to understand where the gaps are, where the biggest blind spots are. And we look across the 6 essentials that are required to be in any structure that is like a family office structure. And it's the same with a business. In order to understand your finances, you need to have visibility, control, prediction, structure, strategy, and expert leadership. Those 6 essentials are what get put in place with a personal CFO, which is to get the accounting and taxes with visibility, with control, so you can start putting prediction and seeing what's happening with my taxes, but what's happening with my cash. So you can start predicting. Right. Then the personal CFO's role becomes a strategist that says, okay, now what's the one-page wealth plan that needs to be in place? And we lay all of that out in a one-page wealth plan, and then put the structure in, and that is the financial project management structure, as well as restructuring the actual entities. So whatever structure is needed kind of falls into that. And then having the right expert leadership who knows how to run a family office, basically. Absolutely. So the starting point is to diagnose in those 6 areas what's going on so that we can then see where the risks are for losing money.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's, I talk to a lot of business owners and, they're so ingrained, or even investors, they're just so entrenched in what they do on a day-to-day basis that it's like trying to see out of the box, so it's always good to have that person that it has that out of the box perspective to be able to look in and say, hey, have you considered this? Have you considered this? Right. I mean, that's, it's absolutely critical to have team if you're looking to scale, grow, and ensure that everything is protected.
Yeah, another little example of just how when we're looking at the overall balance sheet, and we, in one case, I have a client who invested some money or loaned some money to building, a huge building project. And, the money was just sitting there and he was running into some cash flow problems elsewhere. And so I'm like, well, why don't you get that loan that money out of your IRA, your self-directed, let's set up a self-directed IRA, get that money there and have them pay you back the cash. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, you end up with $1 million in your pocket today in your personal checking account. And now those IRA assets that, traditionally in an IRA account are just sitting in stocks and bonds and no choice. Right. But now we're able to move that and make that into the loan to the build project and put that $1 million back in his pocket. So it's just being able to look at all the assets and get them all best utilized for what he's trying to accomplish. and in the process have major tax savings on these high interest notes he's loaning the money out, and it's going now into an IRA instead of into Uncle Sam and his bucket. So it's just like those little strategies where we continually, how can we do this better? How can we do it? How can we structure it differently? How can we save you more money? How can we put more cash in your pocket? Where we become that strategist and that overseer over the entire picture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I love doing that. Seeing the bigger picture approach to it and then being able to offer ideas to consider and strategies that most people haven't even heard about or been exposed to.
Right. And what I love about working with you is that you have a different point of view than I do. So you're looking out for the legal structure, the risks that are inherent in it. These are all things that I can't do or don't have time to get to, but I can see there might be a risk or there's some risks over here. But because it's the CFO point of view, and I'm just making sure the numbers are correct and organized and all of that, it allows me to be able to just bring a clear report, say, okay, help me solve these risks for this client because I want him to be safe, but I can't do it myself. And then that opens up more ideas and more ways that we can collaborate and really get restructure for tax savings, cash management, investment management, and legal and goal achievement and structure and all of it. And it's just a great fit.
Absolutely. It ties everything together. Ties everything together. So,
Yeah, exactly.
so this is legacy engineered. So we ask every guest this question. What does legacy mean or look like to you?
Well, thank you so much for asking that question. So for me personally is to live what I teach and what I do for others. And that to me is like being the role model. Such a great time in my life where I am now championing a change in the CPA industry because what's happening in our CPA industry, the decline and the misery that CPAs are operating under, and that the clients are suffering for it. And it doesn't have to be that way. And so I've restructured my whole entire life and practice for 20 years now almost to live a lifestyle that I love while being able to serve the clients that need my help the most. And so to be able to turn that around and say to the CPAs, like, it can be different than what you're taught when you come out of school and go to Big Four or, directly into a practice. And not only that, it's your duty. And it's almost like I'm calling you to your duty to be the best trusted advisor for these clients that are severely getting hurt with all the mistakes that are getting made in their finances, and step up the plate and have a better lifestyle and make more money, you know? So that's to me what my legacy is for me is, okay, I know how to build a CPA practice that suits me as a CPA very well. And I've done it with other CPAs. Now it's time to do it to more because I cannot stand seeing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars just being lost for business owners who've worked so darn hard to get to this point. They deserve to be really well taken care of by the advisory team. And I just feel like it's our duty as CPAs to step up to the plate and figure out how to do that. And that's why I have trainings for CPAs, and that's where my passion is going now. So that's my legacy.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's perfect. Well, Angie, this has been an incredible conversation. One thing that really stood out to me is that, most people think they're looking for tax savings, investment returns, or better financial advice, but really what they're looking for is clarity. And so, because when you finally see the whole picture, you make better decisions. You stop reacting, you start acting intentionally. And that's really what engineering a legacy is all about. So at Controllers, we spend a lot of time talking about structure, compliance, trust, asset protection, business strategy, but none of those things work as effectively if they're operating independently from one another. That's why you and I work together so well. So the real magic happens when the right professionals are working together towards that same outcome. So if something Angie shared today resonated with you, if you've had that nagging feeling that there may be gaps in your planning or opportunities you're not seeing, now's the time to start asking those questions because, what you don't know may be costing you far more than you realize. And as always, are you building a sandcastle or are you engineering a legacy? We'll see you next time. Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Engineered. For more episodes and to connect with Scott and the team at Controllers Limited, visit controllersltd.com. You can also follow Scott on Instagram and LinkedIn and start building your legacy with confidence today.